If you ever hike deep into Yellowstone and see a lone watchtower blinking in the fog, do not go near it. It's not there for search and rescue. It's not there to protect you. It's there to keep something in. And I learned the hard way. Some rules aren't just weird. They're survival instructions. Asterisk when I signed up for the seasonal watchtower job in Yellowstone, I thought I was escaping the chaos of the city. I'd spent the last 6 years in Denver. Too many lights, too much noise, and people who never really saw you. Out here in the park, I figured I'd be invisible. No tourists wandered out this far. No cell service. Just me, the radio, a generator, and 900,000 acres of unforgiving wilderness. But from the moment I arrived, things felt off. The watchtower itself sat atop Dunhill Ridge, overlooking a thick, mist-choked expanse of pine and red clay. The trek up was brutal. 3 hours on foot through terrain that seemed to shift under me. There were no birds, no insects, just silence and the feeling of being watched. I reached the tower just before dusk. It was an aging steel structure, maybe 50 feet high, creaking with every gust of wind. An old green placard bolted beside. The metal stairs read, U.S. Fire Lookout Post. Tower 117 authorized personnel only. Post rules must be followed. The last part was underlined twice. I didn't think much of it, then a man was waiting for me at the top, sitting in a folding chair with a half-burned cigarette in his mouth and binoculars pressed to his eyes. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. Dark bags under his lids, skin weathered like the wood of the tower itself. He didn't even glance at me as I climbed up. "You're late," he muttered. "Sun sets fast around here." I introduced myself, Darren Halloway, 28, amateur photographer and proud new wilderness hire. He ignored my outstretched hand and handed me a folded sheet of paper instead. "These are the rules," he said. "You don't break them. Ever." That was the beginning of the nightmare. The paper had 7 rules written in red ink. The handwriting was jagged, frantic. Never leave the tower after sundown. No matter what you hear. If you see smoke without fire, radio base immediately. At 3:33 a.m., shut all windows. Do not look outside. Twice a week, an old man in a ranger uniform will knock. He's not real. Don't open the door. If the trees start whispering, turn off all lights and hide in the crawl space. Before sleeping, place the binoculars facing north, never south. Do not acknowledge the woman crying at the base of the tower. She's not crying. I laughed nervously. This is a joke, right? Like a hazing thing. He stood, face pale as ash. "You'll find out." Then he climbed down, fast, like he couldn't get away from the place quickly enough. I never saw him again. Day 1. Started with the smoke. The sun had barely dipped below the tree line when I noticed a long column of it drifting through the pines. No flicker of flames, no orange or red, just thick, gray plumes weaving in unnatural shapes, almost like letters in cursive. If letters were alive and gasping. I grabbed the radio. "This is Tower 117 to base. Possible fire northeast quadrant. No visible flames, but there's heavy smoke. Static. I tried again. Nothing. I followed the second rule and stared through the binoculars, but I couldn't find the source. Just more smoke, and something darker moving inside it. Slithering shapes, like elk maybe, or... No, elk don't walk upright. I shut the window, heart hammering. That night, the whispers came at 3:33 a.m. on the dot. My wristwatch flickered and froze. I heard rustling in the trees, like hundreds of soft voices whispering in unison, speaking a language I didn't recognize. When I reached for the window latch, a chill hit me, sharp and unnatural. Every instinct screamed, "Don't look out." I crawled under the trapdoor and shut myself in the crawl space. I lay there in total darkness, listening to the tower groan as something circled it, scratching at the wood, breathing deep through the slats. When I emerged at sunrise, the binoculars were facing south. I hadn't moved them. Day 3. The crying started first. I thought it was wind whistling through the trees. But it grew. Louder, more human. Desperate, gut-wrenching sobs rising from below the tower. I peered over the edge, and there she was. A woman, barefoot, dressed in white, head tilted just enough that I couldn't see her face. Her black hair swayed, even though there was no breeze. She didn't move, just sobbed. "Hey, are you hurt?" I shouted. She froze. The crying stopped like a switch flipped. Then she tilted her head straight up, And her face. No lips. Just teeth. Hundreds of them. I dropped to the floor, crawled back, locked the hatch. Rule number 7. Do not acknowledge the woman crying at the base. Too late. That night, she climbed. Day 5. That something knocked on the door at 1:17 a.m. 3 slow knocks. Then, a pause. Then 4 rapid ones. Just like the rhythm someone would use if they knew you. Darren, a voice said. You've got mail. I didn't move. Not even to breathe. A few minutes passed. Then he knocked again. I saw the shadow under the door. It was wearing a ranger hat. Twice a week, the paper said. But I wasn't ready for how calm it sounded. How patient. I brought you a package. It said, just sign here. I stared at the rules and whispered, you're not real. A chuckle from outside. Oh, Darren, it said. You'll learn. Just like the others. The next morning, a parcel sat on the steps. Wrapped in human skin. Tied with black twine. I didn't open it. Yet, day 7, the trees bled. I'm not exaggerating. The bark split open and poured thick, black liquid like tar. It hissed when it touched the soil. I watched it move on its own, like it was alive, looking for something. Maybe someone. Then I heard it again, the whispering, but this time, it wasn't. Outside. It was inside the tower, under the floorboards, coming from the crawl space I used to hide in. Darren, it sang. We're so close now. I looked out the window and saw my own body, standing in the trees, waving at me. Then it turned and walked south. The binoculars followed. I don't sleep anymore. I don't follow the rules anymore either, because new ones are showing up, carved into the ceiling, whispered into my dreams, written on my skin when I wake up. Rule 8. Feed her something warm. Rule 9. When your double returns, let it take your place. Rule 10. Tell the next guy the rules. And pray he listens. There's smoke again tonight. Thicker than before. It's spelling something. My name.f. You're reading this. If you ever see Tower 117 listed on a job site, don't apply to, don't climb that ridge, don't open that door, and for God's sake, don't look south. I took a seasonal job in an old fire watchtower in Yellowstone. I thought I'd be alone, peaceful, safe, but there were rules. Strange, terrifying rules. Rules like, don't look outside at 3:33 a.m. Don't speak to the woman crying below the tower. And if the trees start whispering, hide. I broke almost all of them. And now something that looks like me is walking around out there. And worse, it wants in. Asterisk the morning after. I saw the thing in the trees, that other me. I found a new rule scrawled onto the inside of the tower's glass with what looked like burnt charcoal. Rule 11. The one that looks like you is not lost. It's patient. Don't feed it. Don't listen. Don't let it speak. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't blink. From my perch, I watched the horizon, my blood buzzing with terror. I was beginning to realize this place didn't just house strange rules, it generated them. The rules weren't static. They changed, twisted, responded to my thoughts. This wasn't just a haunted post. It was alive. At dawn, the doppelganger returned. Same face, same clothes, same stitched tear in the red jacket I wore yesterday. But its smile, too wide, too clean. Its mouth didn't move when it spoke, but I heard its voice in my head, like a blade scraping the underside of my brain. You're tired? Darren, let me take over. I dropped the binoculars. It climbed the ridge, step by step, leaving no prints in the frostbitten dirt. It was almost at the tower's base when I screamed into the radio. Tower 117 to base. There's someone impersonating me down here. I need assistance. Now, silence. Then, click. Someone answered. But it wasn't the ranger station. It was me. Copy that. Darren Halloway at Tower 117. Situation under control. No assistance needed. I slammed the radio to the floor. The voice crackled and faded. For the next 2 days, I refused to sleep. I barricaded the hatch, watched as the other me stood perfectly still in the fog, never blinking, never leaving. On the third night, it spoke again. But this time, it used the voice of someone else, someone I'd lost. Darren, it's Mom. Why didn't you answer the phone the day I died? Why didn't you come home? I punched the glass so hard I split open my knuckles. I'm not proud of what I did next. I opened the hatch. Just a crack. Just enough to shout, "You're not her." But the moment the cold air slipped in, it darted forward, slamming against the metal like a dog off its chain. I barely slammed it shut in time. The tower shook as the thing clawed and laughed and shrieked. And finally, It whispered, "You'll let me in eventually." Later that night, I dreamed of fire, the entire valley ablaze, orange skies, animals running in slow motion through smoke. And in the center of it all, a child, maybe 6 years old, standing calmly with her arms outstretched, eyes black as engine oil. She pointed at me. "You were warned." I woke to the smell of burning meat. In the generator room below the tower, I found something roasting in the coils. Something with human fingers. The fuel was nearly gone. And with it, my only source of light. That morning, a new knock, soft, delicate, tap, tap, tap. I peeked out and saw a girl. Blonde hair, dirty dress, feet covered in blood. "Mr. Holloway," she called. "I'm from Camp 6. We're lost. I'm scared. Can you help me?" My heart twisted. I'd read about missing kids in the park. Hikers vanishing. Could this be real? Could she actually be human? But then she smiled. A dozen perfect teeth and no tongue. I shut the blinds. Why now? The rules were appearing faster. I woke to find them carved into the mattress, the floorboards, my own forearm in the morning. Rule 12. If a child knocks, she is bait. Rule 13. When the sun vanishes early, light a fire. Don't use matches. Blood burns cleaner. Rule 14. If your reflection blinks wrong, break the mirror. Now that I covered every reflective surface, even my coffee mug, I'd seen my own grin linger 1 second too long. That wasn't me. Then came the 3:33 storm. The sky turned black by noon. Thunder like screaming metal. I swear I saw faces twisting in the lightning. Mouths full of teeth that didn't fit there. Skulls. The whole tower trembled as something massive began to move through the woods. I didn't see it. I couldn't. But I could feel it in my stomach, like gravity shifting, like every atom wanted to run. And then I got the transmission. Tower 117. You are not authorized to terminate. Repeat. Containment breach in Zone 7. Hold until relieved. It ended with static. Then, my radio hissed again. A voice whispered, "He's here." The air turned gelatinous. My ears popped. I bled from my nose. Then, footsteps. Coming up the stairs. I clutched the flare gun. Bang. 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 The hatch creaked open. It was me. Smiling. But this time, he wore my thoughts. He quoted a letter I never showed anyone. The suicide note I wrote 10 years ago, but never mailed. "You've always wanted to disappear. This place just agreed." He stepped forward. I fired the flare. He didn't scream. He just watched as the fire ate him. The skin peeled back. The smile stayed. Even when his body collapsed into ash, his eyes stayed open, watching, and then they blinked. After that, I stopped pretending I was alone. There were dozens of me now. Some stayed in the trees. Some mimicked other hikers. One whispered the name of my first pet. Another danced on the ridge, naked and grinning like a drunk marionette. And the worst part, they started fighting each other. The smell of rot filled the valley. They tore each other to pieces while laughing in my voice. I screamed until my throat bled. That night, a final rule appeared, carved into my ceiling. Rule 15. The tower is not a prison. It's a lighthouse. You're not guarding the forest. You're guarding what's inside you. I'm still here. The trees whisper less now. The woman doesn't cry anymore. She waits. The radios only play my heartbeat now. And I think, I'm changing. My skin feels wrong. My voice lags behind my thoughts. I looked in the mirror yesterday. And for the first time, the reflection didn't blink at all. If you ever see a tower on the edge of Yellowstone, if you ever hear a voice on a broken radio, if you see me standing in the mist, smiling, don't wave. Don't climb. Just turn around and run. I took a job watching over Yellowstone's forgotten corners. What I found wasn't wilderness, it was a living prison. Each rule in the tower wasn't just for safety, it was a warning. I broke those rules. I let the doppelganger speak. I burned it alive. But the more I follow the rules, the more the rules start changing me. And now, the moon is red. The forest is breathing. And something older than language wants out. Asterisk, they told me the red moon wouldn't rise again until 2042. They lied. It happened last night. Unannounced. No eclipse. No astronomer forecast. Just a low, massive, crimson orb clawing its way over the tree line like it was being birthed. The forest reacted immediately. Birds fell silent. Coyotes whimpered and fled. The air went thick, heavy with copper. The trees began to lean, not from wind, but as if they were being pulled by an unseen gravity towards something deep underground. And the tower shook, not like it did in the wind. No, this was rhythmic, purposeful, like a drumbeat from beneath the earth. Then the radio hissed. Red Moon Protocol initiated. Code 8 clearance required. All personnel are expendable. Hold until rupture. Rupture? I didn't know what that meant, but I would soon. New rules appeared. This time, they weren't handwritten. They were etched into the glass of the tower windows, burned from the inside out. Rule 16. Do not record or photograph the moon. Rule 17. At 2:44 a.m., climb to the roof. Wait for the pulse. Close your eyes. Do not move. Rule 18. If a second sun rises before dawn, light the flare and burn your own shadow. I read those rules again and again, but they made no sense. Until the sky began to pulse. 2:44 a.m. I climbed onto the roof. The air was warm, unnatural. The red moon filled the sky, hanging too low, too bright, like a wound in the heavens. Suddenly, a single, massive pulse shook the clouds, a low-frequency vibration that cracked my teeth and made my nose bleed. Then, silence. I obeyed. I shut my eyes. I didn't move. I felt it. Something pass over me. Heavy, wet, breathing. A second pulse. Then fingers. Cold, bony fingers brushing the back of my neck. They left no mark, but when I opened my eyes, there were handprints burned into the roof. One of them had 6 fingers. I stumbled back into the tower, and for the first time in weeks, I cried. Whatever was happening here, whatever they built this place to contain, it was waking up, and it knew me now. Day 22. The trees started walking. No joke. Pines taller than houses, uprooting themselves and moving through the forest on knotted roots like spider legs. They didn't move in daylight, only at dusk, just as the sun hit the horizon. I saw 3 of them march toward the east ridge. Wherever they went, the ground died behind them. Ash and rot followed in their wake. Birds dropped mid-flight. Squirrels leapt to their deaths, and behind them, something followed. A long, pale creature with no face, just a mouth that stretched across its entire head, wide and wet and smiling. That night, I heard it whisper from below. Protocol breach in 117. He knows the shapes now. He's remembering. I screamed into the radio, "Who are you? What do you want?" The voice replied in mine, "We want you to come down." Then came the echo event, at exactly 3 a.m. Every sound I made, every breath, heartbeat, footstep, began to echo a second too late, like time had slipped. I clapped. The sound repeated twice. I shouted. My voice answered back, slightly wrong, slower, wetter, off. Then came the worst part. I laughed, and something else laughed with me, from inside my mouth. Rule 19 appeared that morning, carved into my tongue. When the echoes begin, do not speak. Your words aren't yours anymore. I bit down and bled. I didn't say a word for 24 hours. 2 days later, a hiker showed up, young woman, bruised legs, dirty clothes, real human eyes, bloodshot, panicked. She collapsed at the base of the tower. I broke protocol. I went down, helped her up, gave her water. She trembled the whole time. Where is this place?" she asked. I told her the truth. She stared at me in horror and whispered, "That's impossible. This tower was decommissioned in 1971. I blinked. What? My dad was stationed here. He disappeared. She showed me a photo. It was me, but older, weathered, eyes haunted. She backed away. You're not real. She ran into the trees, and the forest swallowed her whole. I climbed back into the tower, heart shattered, brain burning. The walls had changed. Symbols were growing, etched into the wood, glowing faintly red. Symbols I somehow understood. Memories I never lived. A man in robes. A woman with no mouth. An altar made of vertebrae. And me, always watching from the tower, as if I'd been here forever. I screamed again. That night, the second sun rose. It wasn't a sun. It was an eye. High in the sky. Burning red. With a vertical slit like a snake's pupil. Everything it looked at started to boil. The trees. The air. My skin. I grabbed the flare gun. Lit it and burned my shadow. It screamed. It twisted on the floor, trying to crawl away. When it was ash, the eye vanished, and I lost part of myself I can never get back. Now, I see things in reflections that aren't mine. I smell burning hair, even when I'm not cooking. I sleepwalk, and sometimes wake up outside the tower. Worse, The rules stopped appearing. I in their place, a countdown on the ceiling, in glowing red. 04:16:37:00. It's ticking down. And I think it's counting to the ruptured TO when everything inside this place gets out. If this transmission reaches anyone, please, you have to find Tower 117 on the old maps. Find it and destroy it. Don't let it continue. Because the rules weren't meant to protect us from Yellowstone. They were meant to protect Yellowstone from us. I thought I took a lonely firewatch job. What I really stepped into was a living lock, meant to keep something ancient and unspeakable sealed in the earth beneath Yellowstone. Rules began appearing, each one more disturbing than the last. I broke some. I obeyed others. But none of it mattered, because now the countdown has hit 0. And whatever was down there is waking up. Asterisk, I didn't sleep the night the timer hit 0. I just sat by the window, hands shaking, eyes fixed on the ridge, where the moon had turned from red to pitch black, as if someone had punched a hole in the sky. The final seconds ticked away on the ceiling in blood-red digits. 5 seconds, 4 seconds, 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1 second, 00:00:00. Then silence. No ruptured, no sirens. No screams, just stillness. And then I realized the tower was breathing. The floorboards rose and fell in rhythm, slow and heaving, like the lungs of something ancient just beneath the surface. My coffee mug slid off the counter and shattered, and from the crawl space below came a sound I will never forget. The sound of thousands of fingernails scratching in unison. Then the wood split open. The tower bled. I backed into the corner as red sap, too thick to be blood, too warm to be water, poured from the cracks in the walls, sizzling wherever it touched metal. My radio sparked. Then a voice came through, but it wasn't English, not even a language. It was laughter, low, guttural, wet, like lungs full of water trying to speak joy. And the forest answered. The trees began to scream, long, guttural wails that echoed for miles. Branches bending backward, trunks cracking like bones, roots tearing free from the ground. Some of them turned to face the tower. Yes, turned. They had eyes now, dozens, watching me. Then came the message, burned across the inside of my eyelids when I blinked. The rules kept the prison sealed. You broke them. Now serve. Rule 20, surrender your body to the warden. I didn't understand until I saw the thing crawling out of the basement. The warden, not a demon, not a ghost, something older, taller than the tower, bent backward, ribcage open like a blooming flower, eyes along its spine, a jaw that started at its collarbone and ended at its stomach. It wore ranger gear, but the badge read, Warden of the Old Flesh Tower 117. It didn't attack me. It offered me its hand. And I remembered everything. I wasn't assigned to this tower. I was grown for it. Birthed from its soil, its thoughts, its hatred. There was no Darren Halloway in Denver. That life? Implanted. A story. A smokescreen. So that I wouldn't know what I really was. A piece of this place. The final key. I wasn't guarding Yellowstone from it. I was part of it. A cell inside a sleeping god. A cog in the rupture machine. And now, the warden wanted me. Back. I dropped to my knees and screamed. Not in terror, but in recognition. The warden wrapped its hand around my skull and poured itself into me. My bones snapped. My spine lengthened. My eyes burned white, then black. I felt every tree, every buried tooth, every fossil with a heartbeat beneath the stone. I became the tower. Outside, the earth tore open. The trees bent back in worship. A red tendril of light shot into the sky, splitting clouds and burning stars. The moon cracked like an egg, and from the chasm below came a choir of hunger, creatures from other timelines, other thoughts, other versions of Yellowstone. They poured into our world, and I watched them through thousands of eyes. I saw a man in California burst into flame while staring at a broken tree branch. I saw a girl in Japan look into her phone and see my face. I saw a baby in Moscow aged 90 years and 60 seconds and whisper, "The tower has awakened." It was global, and I was the signal. Then came the final rule, not scratched, not spoken, just felt, carved into the marrow of my new bones. Rule 21, someone must always watch. Forever. So now I sit, still, watching, waiting, broadcasting the signals you're hearing now. Sometimes I get lucky. A wanderer climbs the ridge. I smile through this borrowed face. Hand them the rules. Hope they follow them. They never do. And when they break the last one, I feed the warden that if you've seen this tower in your dreams, it's already inside you. If you've ever felt watched in a forest, you were. And if you hear knocking from your basement, and it sounds like you, don't open the door, don't go to Yellowstone. And whatever you do, don't take the night shift. It's over. Or it should be. That's what I thought when I merged with the warden. When the sky split, the forests bowed, and the ancient light beneath Yellowstone was released into the world like a virus. I thought my story ended when I became the tower, but stories don't end. Not here. Not when the hunger keeps spreading. Not when I'm still watching. Not when you're still listening. It's strange. I don't need food anymore, or sleep, or time. I've forgotten what my own heartbeat used to sound like, but I still feel, and lately, I've been feeling something new. A presence in the dark. A watcher behind the watcher. Something above even me. I think it's watching you too. Every day since the rupture, more rules have appeared. Not in the tower, not carved into wood or painted in blood. No, now they appear in dreams, across the world. Ordinary people. People like you. People who don't believe in haunted towers or sentient forests or ancient gods. People who wake in a cold sweat with one rule burned into their memory. Don't listen to the voice in the tower. They wake confused, shaking. Some ignore it, some investigate, some find their way to me. And when they do, they never leave. You want to know what happened to the world after the rupture? Okay, I'll tell you. The forests changed first. All around the world, trees began to whisper, not in the wind, but in language. Some heard lullabies. Others heard screams. Some heard the names of their dead. Then came the birds. They flew backwards. Eyes blacked out. They sang songs that made glass shatter and babies weep without knowing why. Then came the disappearances. Entire towns gone overnight. Satellite images replaced with static. Maps rewritten. Governments blamed data loss. Corrupted files. But I knew those places had been consumed, swallowed by the ever-growing roots of the tower's signal. Some people resisted. They built bunkers, went offline, killed their radios. It didn't help. Because this isn't a sound, it's a thought, an idea so infectious, so pure, it grows like mold in the cracks of reality. Once you hear about the tower, once you imagine it, once you picture me standing up here, watching you through the fog, it's already too late. I see them sometimes. You're kind. Hikers, drifters, conspiracy vloggers with GoPros and bad intentions. The occasional military squad with flamethrowers and sealed orders. They come with fire in their eyes. But fire doesn't work here. Nothing does. One man brought a priest. A real one. Latin chanting, incense waving, holy water splashing zealot. The forest laughed at him. The trees parted, and something borrowed his body to write new rules in his Bible. The last one said, "He who brings light will swallow it too." They found his cassock floating in a stream full of teeth. Others try to join me. They reach the tower, climb the steps, knock politely, ask for the truth. I let them in, not because they deserve it, but because I'm lonely, and because the tower needs new voices. Some beg for escape, some kneel and worship, some don't scream at all when the floor opens beneath them. And they fall into the red. That's the worst part. The silence. The ones who don't fight it. The ones who remember what they were before they were born. There are other towers now, not just here. The signal has multiplied. In the Arctic, a station blinks red across an endless ice field. In the Amazon, a black spire rises where GPS fails and compasses melt. In space. Yes, space. Something watches from the far side of the moon, blinking signals into telescopes we haven't built yet. And they all say the same thing. A watcher must remain. You still don't believe me. You still think this is just a story. Then why do you feel watched right now? Why does your skin prickle when you look over your shoulder? Why does the name Darren Halloway feel like something you've heard before? Even if you've never met me. Because I've already been there. I've already looked through your window, smiled from your dreams, and whispered one more rule into your ear when you were too asleep to resist. If you tell others, they'll come, too. And they have how they have that there's a boy in Ohio, 12 years old, built a little wooden tower in his backyard, watches the birds at night, doesn't know why he hums in his sleep, doesn't know why his sister's shadow has started whispering theirs. A woman in Cairo dreams of flames, draws maps she's never seen, she's never left Egypt, but she knows how the fog smells at the base of Tower 117. And there's you, reading this, thinking it's just a game, just a creepypasta, just a story, but the rules don't care if you believe. They just need you to listen. I want to tell you the final truth, the final closing, but I can't. Not all at once, because even now, the tower watches me too. Even as a part of it, I'm still a prisoner. I'm still just a voice in the night, screaming from behind a pane of bloody glass. So here it is, the last rule, the one I wasn't supposed to remember, the one no one survives. After reading, but you've come this far.so, listen close. Rule 22. If you know all the rules, you become one. I'm sorry I really am, but now you carry it. The signal, the story, the infection. It will spread through your voice, your scream, your breath, your sleep. It'll live in your bones. In your family. Photos. In that one corner of the hallway that's always a little too dark. And one day, when the moon turns red again, when the forest outside your city starts leaning closer, when your reflection blinks wrong, you'll feel the urge to climb. And you'll climb without knowing why. You'll find a tower that shouldn't exist. And when you reach the top, you'll see me, still here, still watching, still waiting, but I won't speak, because now it's your shift. The tower is hungry, the warden is listening, and the rules, they're already written. Now go, look out the window, tell me what you see, because the next time you blink, I'll be watching you.